Hi, this is Steph with Belladonna Dyes, and today we're going to make a V pattern. This shirt is so tiny. It's a 2T. It's just adorable. So you want to start by centering your shirt using the sleeve inside the other sleeve technique. So you want to tuck one sleeve inside the other sleeve and then line up the seams along the underarm and the shoulder. And this particular shirt has side seams, so you want to line those up too. And wouldn't you know it, this tiny little shirt just really wants to give me the business. Sometimes I can center these really quickly and others not so much. So just work on it until you have it nice and smooth and everything is lined up. When I can't get the shirt to cooperate, a lot of times I'll pick it up off the table and I'll give it like a really hard snap shake, and a lot of times that'll help get everything lined up. Sometimes it doesn't work, but in this case it worked out really well. Next, using a washable marker and the straight edge of my yardstick, I mark out my pattern, and I just eyeball the second line. You could get really precise and use another ruler to measure out the distance, but I didn't really find it necessary on this tiny shirt. And now I'm going to pleat along these lines, making the lines as straight as possible. And I'm also making these pleats as small as I possibly can. I would say they're probably about a ½ inch tall. The reasoning for that is because it's a tiny little shirt, so I do want it to have a little bit more definition in the pleats. If I made them super duper tall, there'd only be like 3 pleats, and so I don't think it would look as aesthetically pleasing. The smaller the shirt, the smaller the project. Who would have thunk it would be twice as hard to do? I don't know, I'm having a really difficult time pleating this shirt. So I'm securing it with my tiny baby hair rubber bands because they're just the perfect size for this project. They're not too tight and they're not too loose. And I do have links down below in the description box for everything that I use, so go ahead and check that out. I've sped things up quite a bit just to save on time. If you'd like to watch a slower tutorial, I recommend that you go watch some of my older videos. They're a lot slower and longer. I didn't really know how to edit yet, so you can see me work in more like real time. So I just went over and I checked on the stats of the Facebook group, and we're 70 members away from breaking 4,000, and I think that is absolutely incredible. There are so many wonderful people in the group. You guys are sharing some awesome projects. So if you're new to the channel, you probably don't have any idea what I'm talking about. So don't forget to click subscribe. Now, over on Facebook, I've created a community tie-dye group, and it's called Belladonna Dyes Community Tie-Dye Group, and you will find the links for it down below in the description box. So I'm going to liquid dye this shirt, which I rarely do liquid anymore. And this dye is old dye. So I'm going to just say this. If you're working with dye and it has crystals in the bottle, it is way too old to be working with. You're not going to have any vibrancy. You might get some pastels, but you might not get any color at all. Okay, so just keep that in mind throughout this project. Some of the colors, like the turquoise here, is not quite as old, but the grape was completely crystallized. Like I said, don't waste your time, don't use it. Go pour it out and make new dye. So what I'm doing is I'm moving back into my dye room from being in the living room. I don't like dyeing over carpet. I'm just gonna be so happy to get back into my workspace. It's just been so hot this summer, like I just could not get anything done out on the sun porch. Anyways, I'm going to be tidying up my space, getting everything organized. I'm going to go through all of my dye bottles. I'm going to pour everything out, rinse them out, and start over. In the long run, it's a lot easier to mix fresh dye, make your shirts, just mix smaller batch dye. And I do have tutorials on how to make a 1/4 cup of dye, a 1/2 cup of dye, things like that. Try to only mix up what you're going to use. I have made the mistake of having grandiose ideas that I'm going to assembly line 20 shirts of rainbows, and I make, 16 ounces of dye, and then I end up making one shirt, and then that's it. So be realistic when you are mixing your dye, and don't overmix, because I hate wasting dye. So hence why I'm using this, but this will be the last shirt for a long time where I'm using old dye. Boy, I just talked all the way through that, didn't I? Okay, so I just flipped the shirt over, and essentially I wanted to just repeat the process, but those crystals in the purple just would not let the dye come out. So I got frustrated, and you guys have seen me do this before, where I just spray and pray because I get irritated. So I just end up adding like turquoise all over the place because I don't really care. I am giving this shirt away for free to a 2-year-old, and I don't think he's going to care really what his t-shirt looks like, but I didn't want to waste the dye. So I'm just squirting on my dye like I did before, and then I'm going to set it off to batch. Now, it's recommended that you let your project batch at 70 degrees or higher for at least 24 hours, and I can tell you that this project batched for the full 48 hours. So now it's time for the rinse out, and you want to start by using cold water. That's going to rinse away any soda ash that might still be reacting within the fabric, and then increase your water up to hot and rinse until the water runs pretty much clear. Now, when working with blues, they have turquoise in them, and they take a lot of extra rinsing. So rinse and rinse, and then rinse some more. From here, I take it to the washing machine, and I like to do hot water cycles using Kirillon. Kirillon is a professional textile detergent that I get from Dharma Trading Company. And then I like to do a final hot water cycle using Millsoft. And Millsoft is a professional fabric softener that I also get from Dharma. And to make it easy for you to find, the links are down below in the description box. And then I'll put the project in the dryer, and I'll iron it, and we'll come back and we'll see the results. I get asked quite a bit by brand new dyers if I reuse my rubber bands, and the answer is yes. I give them a quick rinse, make sure all the dye is off, and then I have a little piece of newspaper that I have sitting next to the sink. I just set them over there, and then when they're completely dry, I organize them back into their container. Well, here it is, guys. I think the shirt turned out pretty good, considering that some of this dye could be 6 months old, okay? Now, the shirt is wonky. Gildan shirts, they kind of suck, you guys, but they take the dye like a champ, and they really are like an industry staple. So, I don't know. It turned out pretty good. The purple disappeared, which, that's okay. I did add a ton of turquoise to this shirt. So there are 2 ways of looking at this project. Yes, I just saved a few cents by not pouring out old dye, but did I just waste the cost of a blank by using old dye? So it really is, it's your choice. I'm not advocating for using old dye. I'm just showing you that it can be done. You're not going to get the vibrancy that you would if it was fresh dye, but it still does work, okay? So overall, I'm pleased with the shirt. What do you guys think? Please leave me some comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel, leave a thumbs up, and click the bell and set it to all. That way you get notified of future uploads. And remember, have fun tie-dyeing!